felt or sensed anything unusual here. Do you mean like
A presence.
No. Have you?
Yes.
What's going on, y'all? It's Liam Crowley with ScreenRant here live in New York City for the world premiere of Presence, Steven Soderbergh's new film told completely exclusively through the first-person perspective of that titular presence. We're talking with the cast, we're talking with the writers, we're talking with everyone behind the scenes. Let's get started. What a creative achievement that you guys were able to put together here. Why did your story need to be told in this first-person perspective?
That was the entire idea behind it. Steven awoke one night as from a fever dream and said, I want to see the whole thing from a ghost point of view. And I said, okay, so many times we'll be in the ghost point of view and we'll cut around. And he said, no, we can never, ever leave it. And it seemed, to me, it was a great idea. It was a time a movie started from the aesthetic idea. And then he said, now go, who's in it? And I gravitate toward family drama, so I made that up, and it seemed to work beautifully. The confining nature of it was what I loved about it.
This story being told in the first-person perspective, why do you think it was important for this particular family and all the dynamics going on to have that perception of how we're going to shoot this movie?
I think for this to work, everyone has to feel, it has to feel like a family, right? If they're going to be observed in this kind of raw format, everybody has to feel lived in. The relationships have to feel lived in. So I think we took enough care to do that. We had very little time, obviously, but we took enough care to do that so that all of these relationships can kind of hit the ground running when you only have 11 days to make a movie. Yeah.
I want to talk about this film being in first-person perspective. You're the only character, or one of the only main characters, that's not actually living in the house. Mm-hmm. How do you think that impacts your character's interpretation of the presence that's going on?
Well, I think it is, such a unique sort of viewpoint from Ryan, who lives in this neighborhood, right? He knows the town very intimately. This is the family's first time moving into the town, and so I'm sure growing up there have been whispers of things maybe happening in the house. And so approaching this house, I feel like he is always on edge. He is always very aware of his surroundings, and he's just a very paranoid character in general, as much as he tries to hide it. And so I think that sort of overall experience is what influences Ryan's interaction with the house and the presence.
Your character's going through so much grief in this movie, and somehow she finds the strength to persevere, make new friends, and somehow, some way embrace the house, even though there is some hesitation there. Where does she get that strength from?
I think she gets the strength from within herself, but also from within finding the presence and going through what she went through. Obviously, she's dealt a very tough hand of cards, and she's so young and she's very confused, but I definitely think she finds that strength within herself and with the help of the presence and the traumatic events that she goes through. So,
how's it feel? This is your first movie, your first red carpet. How's it feel to bring it to life?
It's crazy. You don't get moments like this a lot. I wasn't really expecting to get one this early, so it's a dream come true.
You've had a million of these red carpet premieres, and what I think is really cool, I got to talk with Eddie, and this is his first project, and he's getting to have this great rollout. What's it like for you to get to see your young co-stars get to experience this for the first time, having, decades of experiencing this already?
It's an absolute delight for them to be in this, arena with Steven Soderbergh and with Chris Sullivan. Eddie, this is his first project, and what a thrill, what a way to start your career, and he's got such a bright future ahead of him. Kalina and Wes, all of them, they were just wonderful to work with and so eager to be a part of this, this business of entertainment and sharing. And I'm so happy to see them. We get to see each other, when we get to do press together, ultimately. That's when you get to connect. But we keep in touch on text chains and things like that, too.
Bit of a film nerd question for you. There's cut to blacks in this movie many times throughout to divide the scenes, and so we're not spending too long in one long take. Why a cut to black as opposed to a dip to black?
Because the movie itself is unsettling. And I think that the smoothness of a fade to black would have conveyed something entirely different. The cuts are abrupt. You're jarred every time you're in and out of a scene. And it was all in an attempt to emulate what the feeling of the presence might have been. What does it feel like? And the presence is confused, and so are we.
There's a beautiful moment, and I want to say later in the second act, where Chris comes up to Chloe voluntarily and says, no matter what's going on, I believe you.
Yeah.
What does that mean to Chloe?
Everything. I think in that moment, Chloe's world became finally validated. And I think that moment means more to her than she shows.
I talked with Kalina just a couple minutes ago, and she said how that moment meant everything for Chloe as a character.
Yeah.
What did that moment mean for Chris as a father?
It's important for us, it's important for people to be heard, regardless of the maybe veracity of what she's experiencing. You know, especially when it comes to a father and a child. We can start with belief, we can start with support, and maybe we can work our way back from there until, you know, more proof presents itself, which it certainly does. But yeah, it's important for all of us to be heard.
And when it comes to the presence and the characters that are buying into the presence, why was it important to have the daughter primarily be the one super connected, the father be kind of a close second, and then the mother and the son being so distant from actually believing it?
Well, every time you tell a ghost story, I think you have a responsibility to come up with a new idea for why people might be able to sense a presence around them. And my idea on this was that sometimes when we go through trauma, it opens us up to other people and sensitivity and feeling things we wouldn't have sensed ordinarily. I know it's true in my own life, and I thought the daughter is the one who has suffered most acutely the death of her friend, the horror of that, and I thought that it's that trauma that makes her susceptible or able to perceive. And her father is just very in tune with her. So he's possibly a little bit more open-minded than some of the other people in the movie too.
I don't know if you're a wrestling fan, but you got a hell of a spear. That was a great tackle through the window.
I wrestled as a kid, yeah, all throughout high school. Definitely helped. That was all us too, all our own stunts, which was a great.
You
time.
landed on the pavement?
In a way, we did shoot that. There may or may not have been a cut between. However,
I want to be a little spoiler-free on this question. Your character obviously has a bit of a backstory that's implied that we don't fully get to explore in this movie. When do you think, and you know what I'm alluding to here, when do you think it all started for him?
I think that, it's just so hard to be anyone, especially a teenager in this day and age. The pressure, to get into a good school and just the pressure with homework and mental health and life is something that can really, really build upon someone. And there's demons that, unfortunately, a lot of kids, I feel like it's very, as much as we have social media, which is an outlet in a lot of ways, it can be very isolating, just being behind a screen. And so I think that isolation and, as well as his relationship with his on-screen mother is what kind of adds the demons to his head, which ultimately, makes him the person that he is.
I want to ask you about the ending without going into spoilers, if possible.
Yeah.
We see how much Lucy Liu's character is impacted by the ending.
Yes.
Obviously, your character of Chris is impacted in some way. He shows it a little bit less. What's he thinking at the end?
Well, the way the movie ends, we're kind of left on the string. Lucy's character has had this revelation that she's yet to be able to share with her daughter and her husband. And so we're kind of left with this family who will, from that moment on, be picking up the pieces.
You wonder where they are. And you wonder what it would be like if you were there too.